Hello and welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. Today we'll be doing the player ratings for the Arsenal versus Liverpool game. It was a dominant performance from the champions Liverpool. That international break did a world of good for them. They looked fresh, they looked dominant, and big 3 points for them. They had a poor run before the international break in the Premier League, but they're turning that around now slowly. And what way to start? What a good way to start at the Emirates. And Arsenal, on the other hand, I think they look very flat. It was a very poor performance, I think, from them. Even the games that they've lost and drawn this season, they've showed attacking threat. They've showed something, and it's been an individual error here and there, which has cost them games. But here, there was no intent. It wasn't a good performance at all. They were on the back foot the whole time. They didn't create much either, and there were some mistakes as well. So I think a poor performance. Arsenal will be very upset about that. And so let's crack on with the player ratings. Let's go with Arsenal first. Bird Leno and goal. He couldn't do much with the goals. I felt, there were some really good goals there, and I don't think he did much wrong in that sense. And apart from that, I think he had one good save against Salah. So I wouldn't say it's a decent game. Conceded three, but they weren't his fault. So I'll probably give him a 6 out of 10. And then moving on to Chambers, I think he did decently against Mane defensively. But attacking wise, he didn't provide any threat. He should have gone forward a bit more, put some pressure on Liverpool, push their fullbacks back, but he could not do that. And, you can soak up as much as pressure as you want, but sometimes it becomes too difficult, especially against a side like Liverpool who constantly attack you. And so I'll go 5 out of 10 for Chambers. Holding, I think, he had some good blocks here and there. But the Jota header, I think he should have done much better. He got caught in that, like he should have got to that. It wasn't placed properly, and then Jota going in the middle of those two defenders and scoring. I think that's poor defending, and he needs to improve. I think apart from that, it was decent, but I'd give him a 5 out of 10. Gabriel, he messed up on the third goal. I think he let Salah in, and he looked shaky. He didn't look stable at all. Which is surprising. I think he's a really good defender, but this game, he was under constant threat from that Liverpool attack, and it just wasn't his day. I'd probably give him a 4 out of 10. I think he could have done much better, be a bit more confident, and be a bit more clinical in defense. And then moving on to Tierney, he got injured, and after that, unfortunately, Arsenal just couldn't do anything. I think he played well as long as he was there, and he provides something from the left going forward as well. At the back, he's solid. So I think they missed him a lot, especially in the second half when the goals did come with Tierney there. I don't know if it'd be a different story, but he would have definitely at least provide something going forward. And I think give him 6 out of 10. Unfortunate to come off. Ceballos, he was invisible. I don't think he barely touched the ball. It just wasn't his game. I think he should have done much better. They'll have to rethink this strategy of playing Ceballos. I think Arteta will have a lot to do, work to do with him. And I think a 4 out of 10 performance for Ceballos. I could give him less actually, but it wasn't his day at all. Thomas Partey, I think. He was decent, like in terms of like he has the energy, he runs a lot, he puts the effort in, but he got overran today in the midfield. I think the Liverpool midfield was a bit too much for him. He couldn't handle it. Some poor passes as well. I think he could have played better in that sense. Link the play a bit better. But when your teammates are not helping you too much, it's difficult for him, especially when there's so much pressure. And Liverpool's pace in that midfield in particular is just outstanding. So I think a tough game for him, Thomas Partey. I'll give him 5 out of 10. I think Nicolas Pepe, very disappointed. He's been very inconsistent. I've seen glimpses of brilliance from him. I think he does have that talent, but right now he's not living up to his expectations, not living up to that price tag, and he needs to become more consistent. If Arsenal need to be consistent top four team in the future, this guy needs to step up. He needs to, especially in big games, even if it's just a matter of consistency. Even if he disappears for the odd game or two, it's not a problem. But here, all too often, he plays one good game and then 3-4 poor games. So I think he needs to step up a lot. Does Nicolas Pepe? I'd give him a 3 out of 10. I didn't see him at all, like on the ball or even without it. Maybe he should have pressed better as well. Didn't see that energy from him. So I think a disappointing performance by Pepe. I'll give him 3 out of 10. A bit harsh, I know, but you need these quality players to step up in big games. And moving on to Odegaard, I think he tried to get on the ball like initially as well. Like there's some good passes there, trying to control the game, but they were sitting to way further back. Arsenal, they weren't forward enough, and like Odegaard's game is going forward, and unfortunately they just didn't create enough, and they were on the back foot the whole game, and he couldn't contribute, and that's so it was difficult for him. But I think he'll come back stronger. He's a really good player, but unfortunately, because his team didn't perform well, of course, his performance would also be under scrutiny, and I'd probably give him a 5 out of 10. Lacazette, I think he did get fouled, didn't get enough, passes from the back. But at the same time, yeah, not no real chances for him, clear cut. But yeah, you want he's been in good form. I think if he got better service, he probably would have scored, but he didn't get that. And I think Aubameyang also let him down a bit. So it was an okay game for, like I said, I'd give him 5 out of 10. No clear cut chances, like I said, but yeah, maybe he needs to work some magic from somewhere, but I wouldn't blame him too much for this game. I'll give him 5 out of 10. Aubameyang, I think, very poor. Even Arteta was getting angry at him. You could see on the touchline, and he didn't press enough. He didn't show that energy. He wasn't getting onto the ball. No clear cut chances. Wasn't taking enough shots. Yes, you could say that they didn't dominate midfield, so he didn't get the ball as much. But you still expect pressing. He didn't press at all. Not much I can think of. So I think he should have. He should have played better. He's a big game. He's a big player for Arsenal. We saw him what he did in the FA Cup last season. So if you want to win games like this, Aubameyang needs to step up, at least show that intent. And I don't think he showed that intent in this game. So I would give him 3 out of 10. I think it is a bit harsh, but the likes of Aubameyang, Pepe, expect more from them, especially if Arsenal want to win big games. So a 3 out of 10 for Aubameyang. That wraps up the starting 11. The substitute Cedric Soares came on for Tierney. And he was run right, like from Alexander-Arnold and Salah gave him such a difficult time. They just kept bombarding him down that flank. And yeah, very difficult to cope with. The goals came from there and from that side. And yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't his day. And he came on as sub and just could not deliver. So I'd probably give him 4 out of 10 for Cedric. And then Elneny, he couldn't do much in that midfield. Liverpool completely were taking control over that midfield, and Elneny just couldn't get grips of the game. And yeah, unfortunate. I'd probably give him a 5 out of 10. Elneny, yeah, couldn't do much, I felt. And yeah, I think that wraps up the substitutes. Martinelli came on as well, but not enough time. So I think I'll just rate Arteta. I think Arteta, the players let him down for sure today. Tactically, maybe he could have done a bit better. Like maybe not tactically, but motivated his players more. And encourage them in this big game. I think when things weren't going right, he tried tactically to do things, but it just didn't work out. I think the players did let him down in this game. At the same time, yeah, he needs to work on some of his players. Ceballos in particular, like he's starting him, but he's not been that good this season. So he needs to work on players like that. With his big players, Pepe and Aubameyang, I don't know what he's going to do differently, but he needs to G them up. He needs to try to work with them in training, or just have a word with them and try to get them motivated for these kind of games, because Arsenal look flat. I think the most disappointing thing for Arteta and Arsenal is that they just did not compete in this game. That game they played against Man City when they lost 1-0, it was a much better performance, and they were actually kind of unfortunate not to equalize there. But here it was just extremely flat, and very disappointing for Arteta. I'd give him a 4 out of 10, like below average performance. So you have to blame the manager a bit, but not completely his fault. His players let him down as well. So I think that wraps up Arsenal's ratings. And then moving on to Liverpool. Liverpool, great game. It was a brilliant performance by them. They're finally getting into that groove now in the Premier League, and this will give them confidence going into this run-in, and they'll really want to qualify for this top 4. Let's start with Alisson in goal. Brilliant mustache, new look. He didn't have much to do, to be honest with you. Didn't have to save, like all the action was on the other side of the half. So Alisson didn't have that much to do. I'd probably give him a 6 out of 10. Alexander-Arnold, after that England snub, he didn't get selected for the England squad in the international break, but he's shown why he needs to be in that squad. Like going forward, this guy is unbelievable. His crosses are brilliant. His runs are fantastic. An excellent game. Yes, he hasn't had the best season, to be honest with you. Going back, also he needs to improve like defending, but you've seen what you can do, even with an inexperienced centre backs. they kept a clean sheet. That means he's doing something right. Going back, he can improve, and going forward is just ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Pinpoint crosses. The first goal, that assist was excellent. The second goal as well, he created that, gave to Salah, and then got they got the goal after. But I think yeah, it was a magnificent game. His crosses are just fantastic, Trent. So I'd give him probably a 9 out of 10. I think is that good of a performance, and it was it contributed to goals. So yeah, excellent performance from Alexander Arnold, and he's really giving Southgate something to think about for that England team. And moving on, Nat Phillips, I think he's improving. Him and Kabak, they played well. They didn't make those mistakes, so that's a very good sign. And it shows that yes, they might be inexperienced, but when you play centre backs in their position, then it allows the other players like Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, all these guys to play in their comfortable position. So the more exposure these guys get, and if they can learn from their mistakes, which they've done in this game, I think it'll do Liverpool a world of good. And yeah, I think Nat Phillips, I'll give him 7 out of 10. Same thing with Kabak. I think he's improving. They're winning the headers, they're getting the blocks, and when needed, and if they can learn from their mistakes, which they've done so far, it will give Liverpool a lot of confidence because going forward they have that threat. But you need to keep your defensive mistakes to a minimal, otherwise it just breaks the confidence in the team, and going forward also you won't be able to create much. So I think I'd go Kabak 7 out of 10 as well. So both centre back 7 out of 10. Robertson, I'm not sure if it was a tactical substitution or that it was a precaution for injury, but I think he was really good. He showed intent to going forward, going back as well, whipped in a few good crosses. He's a brilliant left back, Robertson, and Liverpool are lucky to have a player like that. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. And yeah, I wasn't sure. It could have been a tactical substitution as well. I'm not sure about that, to bring in Jota, make it more attacking, or it could have been precautionary, like I said. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for Robertson. Fabinho was great. He dominated that midfield, unbelievable, and he's shown that this is his comfortable position. He did a good job centre back, but that's not his position. This is his position. In the midfield, he won the ball back. Great. He gave that pass for the Salah's goal, and he was just excellent on top of his game. And if he can play in that position, he will be a mainstay for Liverpool. And yeah, it was a really incredible performance by him. I'd give him an 8 out of 10. Milner, he did miss a chance, but I think he did win midfield. And then his versatility, he went to left back, very versatile, to switch positions like that at his age. I think gives a lot. He's a team player, and just for that, I'll give him, a 7 out of 10. It was a decent performance. I think he could have scored as well, but just to show that he's willing to do whatever for the team, and and he did it well. He did his job. He didn't concede a goal either when he went to left back. So not many big mistakes there. So I'd give Milner a 7 out of 10. Alcantara, I think, grew into the game in the beginning, not so visible, but I think he grew into the game, and he showed what he can do. He can pick those passes, control that midfield. He is a baller, but he's had a very poor start to the season, and hopefully this kind of performance will give him some confidence going into the next games. I'd probably give him a 7.5 out of 10. Alcantara maybe tried a bit better in games that will help Liverpool, but yeah, 7.5 out of 10. Mo Salah, he's back. All those fantasy managers who've kept with him, kudos to you. It's been frustrating for Salah. He hasn't been scoring, but he's finally scored. He could have got a few more goals as well. He could have got that second goal, which was blocked by Leno. But yeah, I think he had a really good game. He was involved in that Jota. Was it Jota's goal? Yeah, I think it was Jota's goal. He was involved in that as well, and he kept providing a threat going forward. He's shown he's a class player. He will have a dip in form here and there, but he's shown what he can do, and he stepped up against Arsenal. I'd give him a 9 out of 10 for Mohamed Salah. Firmino, a lot of criticism, not clinical enough in the season. Again, he didn't score, but I think he dropped off well. He provided space for Mane and Salah. He allowed them by dropping back a bit, and he showed a lot of energy. He pressed well as well. He did what Firmino does, and there is a bright side to his game. Probably needs to start scoring more. I think he has to, but apart from that, I think it was a decent game for him. I'd give him a 7 out of 10 for Firmino. And then Mane, I don't think he had a great game. He could have done better. Should have scored, I think, in the second half was it. He should have scored. He got the assist though, so I'd give him a point for that. Definitely, I'd give him 7 out of 10. But going forward, he needs to he needs to be more clinical, like we've said about Liverpool this season. No matter what injuries they have, but the front three are there and they need to be scoring goals. So it worked out in this game because they scored the goals. But if it was a 0-0 and Mane missed those chances, it would have really hurt them. So I think he needs to be more clinical, work on his finishing and training. And apart from that, he has the pace. He can beat defenders. He really didn't create much in this game. Maybe he's lacking in confidence, and hopefully he can improve that going into the last few games of the season. But I'll give him a 7 out of 10, Mane. That wraps up the starting 11. Super sub Diogo Jota, unbelievable. 2 goals. He just changed the game. He was brought on to make a difference. He made a difference. He scored those goals. He got Liverpool the win. He was the match winner, in my opinion. A fantastic performance. And, they looked more penetrative when he came on. They looked like they're going to cut through that Arsenal defense. In the first half, there were times where it looked a bit sedate, but when Jota came on, just unbelievable. This was a perfect substitute performance. That's why I have to give him 10 out of 10. You could say that, he didn't start the game. How can you give him full marks? But you have to, man. That's a match-turning performance. He changed the whole game on its head, and credit to him. I think him fully fit, I'll give Liverpool a lot of confidence in the run-in and in the Champions League. And he's a tremendous signing. He showed before his injury as well what he can do. So 10 on 10 for Jota, unbelievable performance, man of the match for me from the bench. And I think Wijnaldum and Rai Williams, not too much contribution, so I'm not going to rate them. I'll go straight to Klopp. I think he'd be very relieved. It was an excellent performance from his voice. You could see him in the press conference as well. He was happy with that performance, and kudos to him and Liverpool for winning the game. I think he's shown that this team has capability despite the injuries, and I think that's what it is. I think he needs to work on more his attacking players and give them that confidence, because even if they do concede, they have such excellent players going forward that he just needs them to start being more clinical. And I think he got his tactics right. I think the best thing is that he backed his center backs despite them making mistakes in the past, so that the likes of Fabinho can play in his position. So I give him an extra point for that. 9 out of 10 for Klopp. It wasn't the perfect performance, but they're very close to it, I think, particularly in this game. A lot to think about for both teams. Klopp and Liverpool will be happy, but they've started in this season and they will want to look to correct things, whereas Arsenal have been a very inconsistent team. They have the players, they just need to be more consistent in their performances. They need to reduce the mistakes. How they do it is we're yet to see, but let's see how that goes. I think that wraps up the ratings. Thank you so much for joining me, and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and catch you later for the next episodes. Thank you so much. Take care.